They were a network of nations tightly interconnected through diplomacy and trade. They had attained unprecedented accomplishments of culture and architecture, as well as unparalleled prosperity and security for their citizens. And then it collapsed. In a cataclysm of a scale that had never been experienced before, major cities were destroyed, whole civilizations fell, and writing systems vanished. We know it now as the Bronze Age collapse. An annihilation of multiple nations and cultures that brought widespread devastation and death and changed the world forever. But what was the Bronze Age collapse? What factors led to destruction of a world of such seeming prosperity and peace? And most importantly, could it happen again? Prior to 1250 BC, primitive tribal communities around the Mediterranean had flourished into sophisticated nations and cultures. The pyramids of Giza were constructed during the Old Kingdom of Egypt, 2613 to 2181 BC. The Mesopotamians had invented the wheel as well as writing. The Hittites and Cypriots had produced impressive art and architecture. And the Mycenaean civilization of Greece, 1600 BC to 1100 BC, was at its height. By around 1350 BC, Assyria, Babylon, Egypt, the Hittite Empire, and the Kingdom of Mitanni were closely interconnected into an aggregate that modern scholars refer to as the Club of Great Powers. From this aggregate, bolstered by trade and diplomacy, emerged a level of mutual prosperity and peace that at the time was unprecedented. However, beginning in the mid to late 13th century BC, this entire way of life would drastically alter for the worse. Cities would fall, communities would be wiped out, until, of all these great powers, only Egypt would remain as a fragment of what it had been. Conjectures as to what caused the Bronze Age collapse include natural catastrophes, climate change, internal rebellions, and invasions. Scholar Brandon L. Drake of the University of New Mexico has cited climate change as being the pivotal factor. As evidence for this, he notes that the Sorek Cave in Israel, which contains a 150,000-year-old record of precipitation for the northern Levant, shows a steady decline in rainfall through 1150 BC. This led to a so-called mega-drought, evidenced from the examination of pollen and alluvial records as well as letters between monarchs at the time. Such a drought would have decimated harvests and resulted in famine, driving people to migration and invasion. Lower classes revolting against the privileged elite is cited as another cause. During the reign of Ramses III, 1186 to 1155 BC, the first labor strike in history is recorded, when payment to the tomb builders of Deir el-Medina was not delivered. Ancient studies scholar William H. Steibing notes that during this time, tomb robbing had become rampant and, quote, the item the thieves most often purchased with their loot was food. Eric Klein, author of 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed, cites the destruction of the Canaanite city of Hazor as, quote, caused by an internal rebellion of the city's inhabitants, arguing that they may have lacked adequate food supplies. The most prominent explanation of the Bronze Age collapse is the invasion of the so-called Sea Peoples. Taking place between 1276 and 1178 BC, the identity of this coalition is still debated. Whoever they were, and wherever they came from, they wreaked havoc on the civilizations of the Mediterranean. Egyptian inscriptions from the New Kingdom make clear that they were fought off by Ramses II, 1279 to 1213 BC, his son and successor, Merenptah, 1213 to 1203 BC, and Ramses III, who defeated them in 1178 BC. None of these conjectures are without problems. Scholars point out that all of these civilizations had survived invasions and social instability before. Eric Klein, along with other scholars, has suggested the true cause was a devastating intersection of catastrophes. According to Klein, perhaps the inhabitants could have survived one disaster, such as an earthquake or a drought, but they could not survive the combined effects of earthquake, drought, and invaders all occurring in rapid succession. A domino effect then ensued, in which the disintegration of one civilization led to the fall of others. All of this leaves us with the question, what are the parallels between the Bronze Age collapse and the modern world, and could such a phenomenon occur again? Some parallels between the period of the collapse and the modern day seem quite striking. Then, as now, the world was tightly linked through global trade and diplomacy. Given such a network, the downfall of one nation is certain to affect the fortunes of every other nation. The one factor that instigated the collapse that was truly unprecedented, climate change, remains, for uniquely modern reasons, an issue of uncertainty and risk. By COVID-19 and accompanying state-imposed restrictions make clear that the modern club of great powers has its own modern vulnerabilities. Perhaps the lessons we can glean from this incredible history will ultimately be its surviving legacy. This is Deviant Knowledge. Thanks for watching.